to The Real Study with your hosts, Mr. Snidbits,
Welcome back to A Real Study.
Black Girl Marvel,
But I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mr. Marvelite,
not knowing anything about the film.
all the movie things,
And like I was locked in right away.
the pre-review with Super Gummy Guru,
Review.
and me, the Real Study movie voice guy. Let's go to the poster wall.
Good evening and welcome to The Real Study. My name is Mr. Snidbits, and as always with me tonight is Black Girl Marvel, Mr. Marvelite, who seems to be missing from the poster wall, not sure why. And we have a special guest, Sinjin Chapman, who is a TikToker and film student, recently graduated. Congratulations on that. Tonight we're going to be looking at the movies Parasite, Book Club, and Palm Springs, and soon we will be reviewing Everything Everywhere All at Once. That said, let's go ahead and move on over to the drive-in and see if we have Mr. Marvelite. We do have him here with us. Thank God. Okay, that's good.
Oh, I'm no longer a disembodied voice. Thank you.
You are with us. Welcome, everyone. And we are back after a week of me having an injury that prevented the show. So thank you guys for rescheduling this episode. How's everybody been?
This has been a week.
I was going to see who was going to speak first. I mean, I had a pretty good week. These past 2 days, I went to Comic-Con, so
Nice.
I met Christopher Eccleston, so I almost cried when I met him.
That's awesome.
I couldn't pay for his autograph because it was $100. So I held his hands and I told him how much I loved him. And then I took a picture with Katie Lotz, and then I took a picture with Katie Lotz and Katie Cassidy. Then I took a picture with Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich, and Jamie Kennedy. So I had a good day. So I had a good time.
Matthew Lillard, that got me perked my ears.
What? That's amazing.
He walked out. I got the pictures. I'll put them in my
I
Discord.
was going to say, I got to see that picture.
I got
at
you.
least, 'cause-
He walked out into the crowds, and everybody was just like, nobody, like, Danny Trejo walked by, and everybody was like, everybody like lost their minds. Matthew Lillard walked out into the crowd to speak to the children, and everybody was just like quiet, like it was like, you know, a savior walking by. Everybody.
Can I say I have loved Matthew Lillard since Hackers?
Oh, yeah.
Like pure, like,
Yeah.
and I only loved him more with Shaggy. Let's face it.
He was
Yeah.
amazing in Hackers. Serial Killer is quite the great name, a great hacker name.
Oh, and
so-
Scream, like everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I just want to throw out there that when I walked in, he was like, "Hey, Mama, you ready?" I said, "Yes, sir."
That's awesome.
I
That's
said, "Look
awesome.
at this trio," and then like I got between him and Skeet, and that's where I wanted to get. So I got him.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
That is cool. So, Mr. Marvelite, you said it's been a week, like a long week.
Yeah. Woo. No. Like I struggle with migraines. So, Wednesday night was like the super migraine, which would be terrible, except for it. Like I was miserable the entire time. Like medicine wouldn't work, so had to go to urgent care, and I'm like in the waiting room, like telling my wife, "I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here." And then after it was all over with, and I'm in the back, I realized why we were there, because they hooked me up with IVs and they give me really good drugs. And so I was as high as a kite and loving life at that point. And I looked at my wife and said, if I ever tell you we're leaving, hit me over the head, do whatever you need to do. I will go through this again just to get those drugs. So yeah. Proper pharmaceutical,
The cocktail.
That stuff is wonderful. And of
Do
course,
you have a problem now,
huh?
Mr. Marvelite?
No,
He's
because
just
I
saying if he
literally-
goes to the hospital again, he will enjoy it.
If I go to the
Yeah.
like
Oh, okay.
it's one of those things where it's like I'm not a
Me and
recreational
Sinjin was on the
guy.
same page.
Never.
So we were on the same.
No,
I'm
listen,
with him
never
on this.
recreational. But it's like you sit there and they're like, okay, we're gonna give you a Percocet. I'm like, okay, and then like, well, we're gonna give you this. I'm like, okay, and we're gonna give you this. Okay, and then we're gonna just top that with Benadryl because you do get a reaction with those medications put together. And so literally, I was out within minutes. And when I woke up, I was just extremely happy. And my wife got
This
lots
is why
of
the
sweet talking.
opioid crisis is crazy, because euphoria.
So the stuff they give you, because I've had some things like with my throat where they have to put you almost down, but they don't want to put you all the way out because they want to keep you breathing. So Yeah, the stuff he's talking about, it's like they just put you on like
It's liquid gravy.
it's liquid happy. Like it's just you're just like, you know, and
if they
like,
don't,
it's
but
the
if they don't
greatest
do it
thing.
right, like if they don't give me the Benadryl, I will be like irritable because it burns when it goes in, and then all of a sudden you're just completely irritable and antsy. But then once they give you the Benadryl, it's like this nice balance, and all of a sudden you don't care if you have a migraine at all because you don't feel nothing.
Right.
All you do is have good sleep.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better because that's the most
Yes.
important part.
Yes, we can move on from the drugs.
No, it's okay. And those are all
We do
legal
not
drugs
promote-
anyway.
Yes, they
Not
are.
promote drugs at the Real Study.
No, we don't. We don't. But we do promote taking care of yourself. And if that means at the hospital they are going to help you out a little, then that's okay.
And pharmaceuticals are good as a last resort if necessary.
Yes,
so.
but don't take advantage of it.
Agreed.
No.
We do agree with that.
Okay.
So, St. John, we're going to go ahead and move over to you and just see how you're doing. But then we're going to also, we've got some questions for you. So how are you doing this week, sir?
I'm doing good. It's been an eventful week because last weekend I work at the movie theater. There's Doctor Strange, so it was so busy, absolutely slammed. And
You're
then,
really not busy at all.
and then this Friday I graduated, and then
Yeah.
yesterday
Congratulations.
I moved out of my dorm, and that's why my room's kind of a mess. I'm glad you guys can't see it, but below where it's cropped, it's just a complete mess.
It's like the floor is lava, but it's stuff, right?
Yeah, it's just a million suitcases and
Now I kind of just want you to tilt the camera down.
You don't have to do that.
I think we all live in a perpetual state of that. Like if we were to move our cameras in any direction, it's going to get back anywhere.
You don't want to see what's over there. You don't. Yeah, it gets wild. There's 2 computers and desks that way, all the way to the wall with boxes. It gets wild. Okay, so St. John, you said you just graduated. Where did you graduate? Well, you don't have to tell us where, but what did you just graduate from, and in what?
yeah, I graduated film school, so that was really
Nice.
exciting.
Where so we can stalk you? No, I'm just playing. Okay.
At an undisclosed location.
Respect.
But what's your major?
The major is film studies. It didn't have a specific like focus within film studies. It's just film studies degree in general.
So I guess then the question is, what's your passion?
Screenwriting and directing. I want to be a writer-director because I'm kind of a control freak with my, like, I don't want to write a script, give it to a director, and then they change everything, even though I know that inevitably what's going to happen in my career. But eventually I'd like to be a writer-director.
The next James Gunn.
So with my experience, whenever I felt like I loved a movie, if I ever look, I tend to notice that it's a writer-director. Like it seems to be a bit more of a cohesive thing when that happens. If you get a director that works well with a writer, then of course. But no, that's awesome. So did you do some of both of those while you were in school?
Yeah, I took multiple screenwriting classes. I took a directing class. I even took cinematography classes because I think it's important for a director to also know a lot about cinematography so they can work well with their DP.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. I really do wish we had all the movie things here. He is our resident professional camera, of course, he does camera work, but our production guy that's been on movie sets, and I know he would love to chat with you, and I know he's bummed that he couldn't be here, but he should be back soon, and you guys.
I mean, he's in Hawaii, so I'm sure he's fine.
He's so bummed. Yeah, those Hawaii
he's so
TikToks,
sad he couldn't be in his living room right now. No.
Right. But I think we haven't seen him in several weeks, so I'm pretty sure.
No, that's very true.
It'd be nice to have him back. So
Sure, he misses us just a little bit. Hawaii is great, but I'm sure he misses us just a little.
Yeah, but he's not having a double thought right now. Like he's probably just like enjoying himself.
I mean,
I don't
Hawaii
like to think
is like
that. I like to think that he's enjoying himself, but still thinking in the back of his mind, like, I miss my real study people. I like to think that. Just saying.
Oh, that's
Wishful
awesome.
thinking, maybe?
Frenchie just said that he finished live with Rob Mello. Rob Mello is, of course, the actor who plays the bad guy in Happy Death Day. He's one of our mutuals on TikTok, and we're going to have him on the show to do a horror section one of these days soon. So that should be fun. A horror. We're also going to have another horror guy on, so you guys better get ready for a couple of horror episodes.
I'm sure just enough. We'll love it.
Yeah. She will. And I figure we'll do maybe some A24 horror. I think that might be fun because X is out, and I think you guys should all watch it. That said, we have some movies to discuss. And the very first one is of course, our guest's pick, which is the movie Parasite. And this is a suspense comedy, if you will, Korean film. And Sinjin, what made you pick this film?
So Parasite has been that film that I don't understand why I've never seen it. Like, it came out in 2019. It was a huge success. Everyone loved it. Everyone's saying it's like one of the best movies, won Best Picture. I was like, yeah, I'll check that out eventually. And I haven't yet. So I thought this was a great way to give me a reason to make sure I actually watch it.
I'm with you. I am completely with you on that, mostly because I felt the same way. I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this. And then I just never did. And it won how many years ago now? 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Two?
Was it 3?
2019, wasn't it?
2019. Okay. So yeah, not longer ago than I wish, right? I wish it would have been sooner that I watched it.
Yes.
So why don't we start with you, Sinjin? What was your initial thought of the film? Kind of give us what you thought of it generally, and then we'll give you ours, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, so obviously this movie was hyped up a lot. It won Best Picture. It was one of the highest rated movies on Letterboxd. Everyone said so many great things about it, and after I watched it, I was like, wow, this lives up to the hype. Like, I get it now. I understand why everyone was saying it was so great. I need to get my blood pressure checked out after watching the movie. I was so tense watching it. I thought it was phenomenal.
All right. How about you, Black Girl Marvel?
I'm going to third you guys and say that I too was like, interesting. I'm going to watch it, and never did. So, which happens with a lot of shows that we pick for this for the podcast, is that I'm always like, oh yeah, I meant to watch that, and then because now I'm dedicated, it's like I have to watch it, so it's a good thing. So I thoroughly enjoyed Parasite. The moment I figured out what was happening, I was like my mind just blew up, and I was just like, this movie didn't do what I thought it was going to do.
Right.
Because I literally judged the film by its title, and I was like, oh, here we go with some type of sickly, pandemic-y type of film. And
I did the same thing.
They were like, nah, honey, we got something else in store for you. And it was very well done. I will say that a lot of Asian films, like Korean, Japanese films, do a thing, or even their TV shows do a thing where it's you think they go in one direction, you're like, wow, I see this coming, they're gonna do this, and then they make a complete right hand turn. You're just like, that's a better way to go. I didn't, And so to me, this film did that, and I too was like, see why I won Best Picture, because it's refreshing. It was I was watching this very refreshed. I was like, okay. And I was so excited that I'll put it on pause, and I was like, Mom, let me tell you about this crazy movie. And I literally just told her the whole plot of the movie. I was like, so the first scene was like this, right? Then they did this. Then the daughter came in, and then the mother. And I was just telling her the whole thing. And she was like, what? She was making up. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Did it make her want to watch it?
Not at all, but she enjoyed me telling her.
She enjoyed you enjoying it.
Yes, and she was just like, what is wrong with these people? She was getting into it when I was telling her. So I was like, it's the title of the movie. It was the whole thing.
Right. So, Mr. Marmalade, what do you got?
So I think this is one of those things where it happened for all of us the same way. It was critically acclaimed. You heard a lot about it, but it just kind of got put in the back burner. For me, I will be honest with you. The reason why I didn't pick this one up and watch this until now is because I had this kick where I would look at anything that was nominated for an Oscar and I would buy it and watch it. And then after watching The Artist, I realized I didn't want to keep doing that anymore. Because it was worth watching, but it was not worth buying. And I've kind of gotten burned out by Oscar nominations because I really feel like the Academy makes bad choices, but this one was a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I apologize if I mispronounce this. As soon as I started watching and I saw Kang Ho Song, who played the father,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I know this guy. Where have I seen him before? And then I realized he was in Snowpiercer. So he was the engineer that was helping them get through the levels of the train.
You're talking the movie, not the show.
The movie, yes, the movie with Chris Evans.
Right.
And so I had that identification, and then of course for me is I have never had an issue with subtitled films because I really like them, and in fact, I'll be honest with you, I feel like there are there are better original and interesting Asian represented films that Americans probably have never seen. I mean, just go on Netflix sometime and watch like Train to Busan and stuff like that. I mean,
Farewell.
just amazing, amazing subtitled films that aren't necessarily as mainstream here that are as good, if not better, than Parasite. And it was a very enjoyable thing. And I'm sitting watching the film, and my wife is like in another room, and I've got my iPad and I'm watching it, and all of a sudden I had to pause it. I'm like, honey, let me explain to you how messed up this is. This has just happened. And then I get to the next part. I'm like, okay, it's even worse than I thought. This is what happens. And then you get to the end, and I'm like, okay, well, I like the way this ended. And then I made the mistake of pausing the film probably within the last minute. And so I'm like, well, at least this happened, honey. And then I hit play just to finish it off to the credits. I'm like, oh, never mind, it wasn't.
That's hilarious.
We had 2 movies kind of like that tonight, which is going to be great.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So,
they pulled a Twilight on you and was like
I was just sitting there, but it was great. The characters, the family, how they kind of latched onto the other family. You have this rich family that seems to have everything together, but they're not necessarily. The one character that I really felt bad that got pushed out of serving that rich family, you later on realize, oh, I don't know if I really like this person now. And it's like, it just like all of them, everybody was messed up in their own way.
Everybody was a parasite. Every one of them were parasites. No matter your status in life, in their life, everybody was a parasite. So I enjoyed it.
Yep.
He's thinking about it. Prove me wrong.
No, you're not wrong. I did straight up walk into this movie because the director of this film also directed The Host, and The Host is a creature feature, and is what I kind of expected. I'm going to go to them right now, just to make sure I'm not crazy. Yeah, okay. Oh, they did the screenplay for The Host. My apologies. And apparently the screenplay for Snowpiercer, if you look, so that would explain why. There's a crossover. The Host is very much a creature feature. It's kind of freaky and weird the whole time. So I walked into this going, okay, we're going to get like weird little critters. We start in a pretty desolate part of town. Things are pretty gross. The smell that they constantly talk about is something that sticks out to me. This is where I wish I had smell-o-vision, because I want to know what that smell is.
No,
and we don't know. No, I do want to know. I do.
When you get to the point with the sewage backing up, absolutely not.
No, I'm not saying
like,
I want to.
I'm sitting there watching them sit in that.
I'm not saying.
And I'm like, and of course, then like the wife opens the window, and you're the guy's like, and I'm like, oh my word!
Think of it as like a book that you could scratch per scene, so you don't have to like be permeated at all times. I don't want to torture anybody, but you're right. When he left the window open for the bug spray, I was like, what are you doing? You're insane. I know you're poor. I'm poor. I get it. That's insane. And they couldn't even make pizza boxes right. Anyway, I see why their family went and did what they did. They
you might get so good you can stand up and do them.
But they worked as such a wonderful team. That family was like a cohesive unit from the beginning. And I think that was something that I loved about it the most, was no matter what, they were always manipulating the next group of people and trying to grift people, essentially. I mean, that's what the family was doing even when we met them.
They were so talented doing that.
Right.
They could have easily been rich on their own. Like they had all of the tools, but they were extremely lazy until they thought they could get something, better out of it. Because like the forging the documents, the scripting that they did in order to set up the different people.
Listen, that was a masterclass in acting, man. He was like, no,
psychology of it.
Well, and like slowly introducing the next person to replace, not just getting right to it, because they knew that would be too fast, even for a gullible woman.
And what got me was the moment when like the script matched exactly what the wife was going to say.
Right.
Yeah, like, they knew her. They're like, yeah, we got this.
Remember the friend told him too, like, she's simple, and then when he got in there, he was in there for a couple of weeks, even with the sister. You could tell how simple she was. You could probably just verbatim just know what she's going to say, and she was quite simple though. Poor thing.
They worked her over completely.
Poor thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the twist, St. John?
So I went into this movie knowing absolutely nothing. Like, I heard it was good, but didn't know a single thing about the plot. All I know is that it was good, and then I saw the poster, and the poster is very
gives you nothing.
Cryptic, I guess. It's like unsettling, but I don't know what is happening or why. So I had no guess at what was going to happen. And then when I started piecing it together about what they're doing, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then they just threw this guy in the basement out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, I thought like I understood the central conflict, and then it just started like building from there, and I was like, this is insane. I love it.
That's honestly what to me, like when the movie actually starts. Like it started, like, and I did enjoy, like the lead up. I did enjoy like the manipulation. I will say that one of my favorite things about the movie is that the family, they don't judge each other. like if I'm forced to document for my sibling, my mom will be mad. Like she'd be so pissed at me. She'll be like, "What?" She'll be like,
each other.
She'll be like, "Why are you doing that?" He's like, "Oh, like she could
the Harvard of
she could be a con artist for she could make some, like like they were just very like whatever you do is amazing. Good job, like type of family." And I thought that was just like that's new in a family. Like you don't see that. But I just think like for me the like it got very high octane in a way when you found out that she was going in this basement. You're like, what is she doing trying to move this thing? And then you're like, okay, she's down here. And then it's like, it's a dude down there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, that's when like the story kind of like really started, or like it was kind of like a play. It was like, this is the first half. You meet this family, and then you meet this other rich family. You see the dichotomy of them, and then you're like, it is like the second half where it's like, now meet this other family that's
a third
not
family.
worse. Meet this third family that's kind of like in the middle of these two families in a way, involved in status, and then it just gets crazier and crazier from there. I mean, everybody just getting stabbed and stuff, which is amazing for me. I was like, this is great.
I got a really, really heavy Twilight Zone episode feel from it because I felt like we could walk into Parasite 2 and it would just be the next family that we would see dealing with the situation. Not really when you get to the very, very, very end, but I would contest, and maybe since we're this far in, we can start talking about it, but I would contest that the end of the film may be a wish, not a reality. The way it played out, it felt like maybe it was what the dad was hoping, but not necessarily what really happened. Because nobody aged. You didn't see an age difference, and I don't think it happened in a short amount of time. So I get this.
How was the son getting the message to the dad?
You kind of did, because the son's hair grew out and it was a different color, and he had color to his hair.
Yeah, so he could have been trying to hide himself to go back to the place. I don't know.
I mean, I'm just saying there were slight changes, but I will say I think it's very Inception-y, the ending. It's like, what do you think would happen? Did you think, because it could happen two ways. It could be like them just showing us what the son was reading and what he thought it was, or it could be like, and then back to reality, or it could be like that happened in the future. Well, I feel like it's for us to decide.
Here's my point to it. The part that I think makes it grounded in fiction, not reality, is that the son is writing to the dad, but we see the dad's perspective. How would we have a clue what's happening with the dad? It would only be the letter that we're hearing. We don't even know if he ever got the letter. So I think it's what the son is wishing, what he hopes will happen.
Yeah.
That's just
and he's not a very motivated person. So it's like, the idea is, okay, is he actually going to do this, or is this an empty promise? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I interpreted it as the son was trying to, is his wishes, he was planning this, and then the end line I think is so interesting that it's so long, which is kind of like a farewell type of thing, but it's also like
a period of time too. It could be like
like it will take so long for me to do that, and to me I kind of interpret that as like a cynical, it's going to take so long that it'll never happen. Like the son wants that, but then he kind of has this like, so long, I'm never going to
it's like a goodbye,
break out of this cycle of poverty. I'm never going to be able to help my dad.
The house is also empty at the very, very end. There's nothing in it. There's no food, there's no furniture. It's just the raw house, and the way he comes out doesn't feel like they would have at least moved something in. They would have done, I don't know. It just feels like,
I mean, there were boxes in the house.
Yeah, there were boxes.
There were boxes in the house.
But were they boxes
they were
leaving or boxes coming? I don't know.
I mean, with them being outside the house and boxes being on the side by like where they walk up, I would assume it's them coming in. But again, it's one of those things where it's like I like to think of it in an Inception-y type of way, where it's just like it's up to us to determine, because it could be wish fulfillment from the son's like point of view, or like a dream of some sort, or for me, it could be something that like actually did eventually happen, because we can see that they have determination when they need it. They can work, they can like plan, and he's that like his plan took them this far. Who's to say he finally was like, well, let me plan to actually make a life for myself? And I feel like he has that possibility. So I like to look at it as it could go either way. I like to look at it as very open.
I'm just not a believer in bootstrapping, so I don't think that just because he got his dad trapped in the basement that he bootstrapped himself out of it.
Yeah. Consider also the fact that that dad was stuck in that basement for a good period of time with that dead body.
And not, well, we could start talking about what that implies, but because
I mean, Dad's crazy.
we're gonna
at
have
this
to,
point.
exactly. And here's the one thing that I think bothered me about the film at all was when the guy comes out of the basement after 4 years of being either in dark or low light. He walks right out in the middle of a bright sunny day. It goes like that for a second, and then he's fine. I'm like, no, you'd be like, for a while.
Not really, because think about it. Remember, that he said that him and his wife used to, when the people would be gone, he would come up and he would drink tea and be in the sunlight. So there's no telling how many times that actually happened.
It would have had to have been recent, I guess, because even a couple of weeks would do that to you.
I'm not saying that he shouldn't be like a little blinded by the light, but I don't think he would be that bad, because he's periodically has come up out of the basement, has come. And then remember, he did come up one time when the kids saw him doing his birthday. Word. That would have freaked me out though. If
I like the tie back there. That was great.
No, that was a good tie back. But like, so I'm just saying though, like I can get him kind of being like, oh my god, like ooh, and then my murderous rage took over, and I wanted to kill the girl. So.
I guess as long as you can see the shadow of the victim, you're good. Like you don't need more than an outline.
Plus, he saw her recently, so like I'm pretty sure his wife died with all this things. That would have messed me up too. Like she threw up, knew she had a concussion. Man, that scene was just crazy. She was just like,
"I'm gonna die. You need to do something about it." Right? That was messed up.
Listen, him hitting his head that many times in the blood, I was just like, "This is such a great movie. This is so good."
I could never have predicted at the beginning of the movie who would or would not survive. I would never. I would have lost those Vegas odds. Which is weird because I'm usually pretty good at it, but this subverted most of my
honestly.
I was not prepared for this movie. Like I wasn't prepared for any of that. Like I wasn't expecting anybody to die. I thought this was gonna be like a
right. I didn't think death was on the table. Really.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe like they stole the house from the family, or they were found out and it was gonna be drama. But I didn't think anybody was gonna die. And then all of a sudden, like you had like insidious looking, head popping out of the basement.
We just got a follow. I have to say thank you for that to Star Matthew for the follow.
Star X Matthew?
Yeah, I always ignore
Starks
those.
Matthew?
Those X's. They look like spaces to me.
I love it.
You like to add them in there? Hey.
Yeah.
Nobody was prepared for that film. I think you are right, Frenchie.
Towards the middle, I was trying to think about what the ending would look like, and I was thinking, oh, they're gonna it's going to be a running from the law type of movie. They're going to get caught, and then it's going to be like something like that. And they're going to be hiding in the woods or something.
I was waiting for the friend to come back.
The friend never did come back. And apparently the ex is silent. Just so you know. The friend was an interesting element because had the friend not just been like, hey, dude, I got to leave, this, of course, would have never happened. And it took some convincing to get the main character to even say yes to doing this. He was not into it, and of all the family members, he's kind of it seemed like the most inept of the four of them until he started being given the opportunity. It's almost like I understand what you were saying, Mr. Marvelite, but I almost feel like this family was designed to be criminals. Like they didn't know what they were good at until they got to dip their toe into criminality. That's just me, but
I mean, I kind of agree with that because a lot of people we kind of talked about it and said but with all these skills they have, they can do this. But sometimes when something naturally comes to you, you don't think of it as a skill. You just think of it as something that you just do. Oh, I just do this.
Right.
This is a thing I do. So you don't think that this thing that you just do naturally, you can actually make money from it. Like if that girl really wanted to, she could easily be a criminal and like forge papers and documents for people and help people get a better, she could have literally forged documents for all of them and leveled up their standing without having to con these people, or make other people lose their jobs for like no reason. But when you're just naturally gifted at something, you don't look at it as like, I can make money off of this. So it's like, all right, I'll just do some dirt to make sure that I can do the next thing. So to me, that was very realistic about this, because people don't look at their, naturally born gifts as like profit or money or something that could be useful in society. Nobody does.
She was trained in school for a degree, though, I believe that was mentioned. Yeah. Let's talk about two other things in the film, and then we're going to want to move to the other two films because we are going to run through on time if we're not careful. But two things that I noted, and I think this is something to do with Korean society, South Korean society, but there were several moments where there were just full-on English sentences, and I think it's because of the amount of time that Americans have spent in South Korea and the integration between the two societies to some degree. There were a lot of things that seemed to cross over in all of the Korean films I've seen. And I just thought it was interesting which phrases were fully English versus which ones were completely Korean. And I think it was like 4 lines in the film. Do you guys remember those sticking out at all?
No, not to me. The only thing that stuck out to me was the fact that they kept calling each other sis. When in Black culture, that's what we do too. So that was like interesting to me. I was like, But again, Asian culture and Black culture, they blend very much for the most part. Because there are Black Asians, there are Black Koreans, so it's that type of thing. So I enjoyed that. I was just like, that's nice. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Did either of you two guys catch the English at all?
I was thinking that it was because the son was like teaching English, so that it was kind of like a, I don't know, nudge nudge, hey, we know English kind of type of thing. That's how I interpreted it. But
there was a moment between the rich wife and her husband where she speaks English for a moment, so that it was not always related to the tutoring. That's what it just stuck out to me. I was just curious if you guys noticed it. If not, I'm going to go back and check it out.
I noticed like little like English words, but honestly, it didn't pop up in a way for me to be like, to take a full on notice, be like, I just feel like because they're learning English, that I feel like sometimes they might slip into it. Kind of like if I was learning like Japanese or Korean or Mandarin or something like that, I might slip into things that are easier for me to say, just to kind of like do it. Can I still say it? Can I still do it? So that's kind of how I look at it.
The other thing could be. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Marley.
No, I was thinking also maybe possibly for emphasis. I remember there was a part where the husband made a statement when they were talking about the driver, and he either made the statement because he didn't want the kids because the kids are not as versed as they are, or he was using it to give emphasis because I think it was something about like being dangerous or being a scumbag. He used like a specific phrase that was everything was in Korean except for that phrase, and so there is that idea of it. And this is where I don't kind of quantify. I know that English is taught and is pushed very strongly in Asian culture, like there are schools that specifically push for it. But I honestly don't think that the English language is sometimes the most knowledgeable language that you would want people to be speaking, other than we're the ones that are most stubborn to learn anything else.
Or we're the ones with the most economic power, so they're going to want to speak to the guys with the money. I think
are we really?
Yes, still true. As much as it may not seem like it, it's still true. It's going to not be true soon, but it is still true.
As long as you gotta say, "Can I speak to your manager?"
The other
I want to learn other languages, but that's I just want a little tidbit. Continue.
The other one I noticed was that there were some exceptionally ridiculous stereotypes that were being perpetuated that were pretty much straight racist, which I thought was interesting. The Indian headdress that he was forced to wear, and those types of things, where they were again taking American culture and just kind of going with the stereotypes, which again I think is likely cultural due to the fact that it's like once removed. So they have American culture there, but it's only partially there because of our
their knowledge of in some cases their knowledge of American culture is based off of movies and TV shows that they've seen, and so it perpetuates. Whereas we have actual Native Americans in the United States that we could reference and talk to and be respectful of, and yet as people who have come in and colonized this nation, it's a lot more disrespectful for us. And mind you, they don't know better, but I think at the same time, I think as they get a better understanding, they would do better. But it's more our fault because we perpetuate that stereotype.
I don't disagree with that.
I'm curious. I'm just curious when this takes place.
It is fairly
Like,
ambiguous.
It's because I don't think there's a time where there's like it's 2000. Like, I need to know.
Well, the cell phones are pretty advanced.
They speak of a specific app that is a real, like a spoof on a real
WhatsApp.
app. WhatsApp.
It's WhatsApp.
Yeah, so it is WhatsApp. So it's not a spoof. It's a real one.
No, it's not a spoof.
And that's
it's
modern.
WhatsApp, yeah.
So it's now, at least. I mean, the last few years, at least.
Yeah, it got to be like 2010s at least, somewhere around there. To try to think about when WhatsApp comes out.
I
just
assume
thinking like
2018 when it was produced is when it takes place.
Cause I don't know, cause to me the whole like Indian headdress thing, all kind of stuff, I don't. Seeing as that's not my culture, I can't really sit here and be like I wasn't offended because like it's not my culture, so I'm not like offended. I really didn't take it as though anybody should be offended because of the context in which the film like has it in. It has it in like a positive light in the sense that this boy is enamored. He's in Cub Scouts and he's in nature. He's just like curious. And little kids, I feel like little kids can't be faulted for wanting to dress up as certain things. And it's up to the parents to be like, well, this is a thing where, but as I know in most Asian cultures, they allow their kids to be expressive and learn, and like they don't put boundaries on them in certain ways. Depend on the parents, like any other culture, but mainly from a lot of like Asian people that I know, like their parents, they're like, oh yeah, they let me explore. I did this and I learned this instrument. I went and did this and I used to scuba dive, but I stopped and they did so much stuff that I just feel like the parents are just kind of like, this is his thing right now,
right?
So we're going to let this be his thing, and I don't think it was very. Now, if there is an Indian Native American, I don't know the correct terminology. I don't want to disrespect anybody, but if there's somebody out there that it was disrespectful to them, I would like to know why. I would like to know, like, educate me more on that. I would want that.
I would go with at least the fact that we're talking about affluent people who are highly educated, who should possibly know better, but honestly will do anything to please their child, so they wouldn't care regardless.
No, literally, yeah.
So that's why.
Like,
I mean, they're rich,
but also
they're
rich. They're rich, highfalutin people who, like, even in a time of like strife and people are dying, get stabbed. You're like, give me the keys to the car, and then you roll him over and you go to grab the. It's just people are dying, my guy, and you're like, the smell of this basement peasant. It was just kind of like. So when guy stabbed him, I was like, good job, man. Live in the basement. You earned that right for stabbing him.
Well, it's like the whole like with the Indian thing. Like they were the kid has an interest because of the Cub Scouts and because his den leader was interested in that. So there's that perpetuation of interest in the culture, but at the same time, should the parents have gone and had them standing like behind the bush
at the same time? But
I'm sorry. No, but like being behind the bush with the tomahawks and like coming out acting like they're gonna like attack the kids, like that didn't need to happen. So
I think we may have to address that because I don't know.
I'll let you address it.
I think that maybe Star Matthew, you can just take that back and let's move on, or we can just go ahead and start with the blocks, because we're here to just talk and have fun. And if things were said that you misunderstood or misrepresented, that's fine, but don't start bringing it to our chat, please. That's not what we're here for. We're a very inclusive bunch. We're open to learning all sorts of new things. So let's, Oh, thank you there, Biggie. I appreciate that. Okay. Biggie is helping us out, so we're going to move on. So let's rate this film. We do a rating system, Sinjin, based upon 1 to 10, and it is essentially your scale. You decide how that 1 to 10 works. If
Mhm.
10 is your perfect movie and you love it and that's how you rate things, great. If you never give a 10, that's fine too. However you want to do it.
Mhm.
So as an example, I'll go ahead and do this. I'm going to give this film a 9. I think that it's not one I'm going to run back and watch, and that's why it's not a 10. Because to me, 10s are movies I'll put on over and over and over, and I love them. So like I will watch this movie again, but it's going to be some time, and I'll want to really sit down and analyze it and take a look. That said, that's how we normally do it. Sometimes with the particular movies, we would also give our what our 12-year-old or 13-year-old self might think of the film, just to give a kind of an alternative to the idea of all these art house pictures that we may be doing. Because
I don't
sometimes
know if my
just
12-year-old self will watch this.
I don't think mine would have either. But the idea of a popcorn film, we want to be able to give a rating based upon a popcorn film rating with a fair rating, because a 12-year-old is going to give a popcorn film high ratings, right? High marks. So anyway.
Yeah, very true.
Anyway, we're not going to let that sway us. We're gonna stick with it. So go ahead, Sinjin. What do you think? 1 to 10. What do you think?
So I wouldn't want to give it a 10 just because I don't like giving a 10 to a movie I've only seen once. I feel like I'm the type of person that has to watch it multiple times. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And also, I want to factor in recency bias since I watched it really recently. I'm very excited about the movie. It's on my mind. So I'm going to give it a 9, but I could totally see in like a few months from now me giving it a 10.
Okay.
And then 12, 13-year-old me is interesting because 12, 13-year-old me loved, Halloween and loved watching movies where I probably shouldn't have been watching them. But this one is a little bit slower, and I had, focus problems when I was younger. So I would say 12, 13-year-old me would give it a 7.
Okay, so you might have watched. That's something that most of us wouldn't watch. But hey,
I shouldn't have, but I could have.
How about you, Mr. Marvelite?
Yeah, I would probably say I'm definitely going with the 9 for this one. It's rewatchable. I'm not going to go back and watch this over and over again, but I think with the amount of attention that I gave to this film and wanting to go back and really kind of delve into it a little bit more, I really feel like it definitely deserves that after a little bit of time. My 12-year-old self would have watched this and under certain circumstances. I have family that like this kind of stuff, and there's a rule in my household that the kids get to watch a movie, but they typically will watch whatever the parents want to watch first, because the parents will be knocked out and asleep. And so my uncle would have probably brought something like this over, and we would have sat and watched it, and I would have endured it for probably the first 15 minutes, and then I would have been enveloped in it. So it would have been a 10 for me at 12 years old, because I like creepy, freaky stuff, and I may not have chosen this to watch it as a 12-year-old, but if I sat down and watched it, I would have loved the crap out of this.
Yeah. So. No, that makes sense. Lala.
I'm gonna go backwards because Mr. Marvelite just made me think of something. My dad used to just buy movies or come across them, I would say. And this might have been something that he would have picked up, and then this might have been something that in the middle of the night I probably would just put on because I'd be like, my dad bought it and I just wanted to watch it.
It has a weird
but
poster.
I won't. Yeah, you know what I mean? Look at the cover of this thing. If it was a VHS, I was like, look at the cover of this box. But I don't think I wouldn't give a 12-year-old rating because I don't even think I would probably look at it and be like, and then find a cartoon. So, but me now, I would give this a solid 9. I don't give anything a 10. Just so you know, I don't give anything.
I respect that.
Rare. It's rare that I give something a 10. It's very rare because I always feel like a movie can be improved upon, or it might be perfect in its own way type of thing. But I'll give this a solid 9. It was a great film, suspense. I was there from the beginning. They made me care about this family and then stop caring about them after a certain time. I cared about them because I was just they're hungry, they're scrounging for food, they're living in the basement, they're in corners looking for Wi-Fi and stuff like that.
Sitting
I
on
did
the
give it-
toilet as it explodes, sitting on your phone,
Listen, all kind of stuff. No, but that's like towards the end though. You saw I said that like eventually that changed, but like in the beginning, you see like the hardship that this family goes through. And no biggie, I don't believe I gave Indiana Jones a 10.
Yeah, I was waiting for that response.
There is no place anywhere near a 10 last week.
6 was the best you gave? Yeah.
I look like he's laughing now because he knows he's a lot. But like it was to me, this was like a really good film. It was like, I mean, I give it up to the writers, I give it up to the actors, but also I give it up to the direction. I thought the director did a very, very good job at like cutting scenes when he needed to, maybe getting the actors to be a little bit more heightened or lowered, like just getting like the scene where the guy comes out of the basement and then he grabs the knife and he's just slowly walking, and then the girl comes down with her phone.
Almost
and
like
she's
a scoot walk as he was,
and she's like coming down the stairs on her phone. They just miss each other, and then she's looking for Kevin. And I laughed. I probably shouldn't have laughed at this part, but when she had him on her back,
it's a dark comedy.
Is he that light that she can like carry him? Like I was just like, man. But yeah, I give this a 9. This was a solid, like just kind of like snippets. I probably wouldn't watch this for quite some time. I would let this disappear from my brain for a while, and then I'll go back and like watch it.
Yeah, I like that, because movies, once you can forget half of them, can be fun again.
Exactly.
I mean, they can be fun again anyway, but yeah, I love watching them open that door to the basement a lot, where they were like literally up against the wall with their feet and like pushing, like some almost slapsticky comedy in there.
Yeah. But I love that the concussion came back, because like she hit her head hard when
I thought she was dead the first time.
I felt that
too. I was like, yo, but she was just like,
the Foley people in this movie were good. They were really, really good.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So
you felt a heaviness to every hit.
Yeah, that felt like somebody took a piece of like lamb leg or something and slapped it on the pavement to get that thwap sound. I don't know, but
like when he hit him again with the rock for us to see, just one more time, I was like, "There's a pool of blood, my guy. You don't have to."
Oh no, I understood that. I liked that last little initial. I would have done it too. If I had been trapped that way, I would have done exactly what that guy did. I think I would have stabbed more people though.
I've seen enough zombie movies to understand you got to throw the rock the second time.
Yeah, it's a double tap.
I still don't understand how. Anyway, that's where the whole movie kind of gets weird, because for all we know, everything after that's a coma dream. Like, anyway, that guy got effed up.
I mean, that's a good thought too, because I really thought he was donezo.
And then he wakes up laughing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna,
that's serious.
Joker.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna turn into the Joker because everything was funny now. I was just like, like, watch out. I was like, he's about to be a psychopath.
I know people that have had brain surgeries, and I've seen them afterward, and it's the most like inopportune laughing. Like you could be telling them that they just lost a loved one, and they're just laughing, like he did. Like he's standing there at the memorial for his sister. He's kind of like chuckling to himself. Like that's 100% a full blown thing, and it's unsettling at first because you don't know what else is wired wrong.
Right.
Do you think that brain surgery and like him laughing is kind of like representative of going through that trauma? Like he laughs at really dark things because he went through the trauma of everything he saw. Like, I don't want to diagnose him with PTSD.
Well, he didn't see everything in the lawn, though. All that lawn stuff happened without him.
Oh, yeah, true. But still,
it's like Joaquin Phoenix when he Joaquin Phoenix. I'm sorry. In the Joker, I always say that. I always do that. I always mess up Joaquin's name.
But you said anyway, Joaquin, so it kind of works.
Yeah,
like,
it works.
Yeah, but Joaquin Phoenix, the Joker, like when he's in high stress situations, he starts laughing, and he has that little card. It's very much a similar thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like it could be shock related. Like it's like a delayed, because when my brother passed away, I didn't like feel anything, but like when something would happen, I'd be like, oh, that's crazy. But then I'll start crying afterwards because I was like, it was like a delayed like shock reaction. So I kind of took that from him because like he even looked at his own sister's grave and was like, yeah. And like I kind of felt like that when my brother died. I was just like, he dead, like that's crazy. And then I cried. Like,
well, he's on trial and he's still got a smirk on his face.
Yeah, so it's just laughing. I feel like it's shock. So I feel like it could be everything everybody said. So
Yeah, I'm going with Coma Dream. That's. I think I'm sticking with that one.
I dig it.
Um,
I dig it.
okay, let's move on to the next movie. The next movie is going to be Book Club. This is actually a pick from one of our wonderful
Is it Ray Ray?
regular viewers, Ray Ray, and also the proprietor of the Star Trek portion of the Discord. So if you want to talk Star Trek, she is all about it, 24/7. That is literal. You drop something in that Star Trek Discord, you will get a response. So, this movie has a ridiculously star-studded cast. I was very shocked because I didn't look at the cast other than the four main leads, but I didn't actually look at who was in it until they started popping up, and I was very pleased with the number of people that were in this film. I had a few people joke about how I had to take one for the team and review this film since it's a ladies' film and such and forth, and all this stuff. And sure, it is definitely catered toward an older female, even white audience. I would not disagree with that. But I think there are plenty of elements within this film for anybody who understands love or relationships.
Very true.
And I also like all types of movies. I would be more inclined to say no thank you to a Western before I would ever say no to a movie like this. Anyway, whatever that tells you about me, I don't know. So, because this is a Ray choice, I'll just start. I wasn't sure what to think. I'm not a huge Diane Keaton fan, I'll be honest. I've never loved her work. No, honestly, and I don't know what it is. It's just some actors just don't resonate with people. So, it's not that I don't think she's talented or good. I think it's because she reminds me of people I don't necessarily like. And that's kind of hard to separate in your head. But I think she did good in this. And of course, I think she did great in Father of the Bride and things like that. But she's always kind of high strung. And I know people like her in that way. And I don't like it, I guess. And I've never seen First Wife Club. About half of her work I've never seen just because I've... Oh yeah, I know. Somebody's going to now redeem that one. Yes, I've never
that one
seen...
I wouldn't mind because I loved First Wives.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
It's free on YouTube. No, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Fair enough. So going into this movie, I'm okay. It's about a book club. It's definitely about these older women. I am not an older woman. Let's see how this plays out. And as always, these four women do not disappoint. I think Jane Fonda is phenomenal. I think Candice Bergen, it's nice to see her kind of come back and do something larger because she's kind of tucked away a little bit more in her acting. And then Mary Steenburgen, I've loved her since, back in the 80s, Parenthood, Back to the Future. So they all brought it. The male cast, which I think people would be more surprised about, include Andy Garcia, Craig T. Nelson, Don Johnson, Ed Bigley Jr., and Richard Dreyfuss. When he showed up, I was like, oh, it's the Dreyfuss. I was very excited. So overall, I was pleasantly surprised by the roles and by the comedy. So initial impression was good. How about you, Black Girl Marvel?
I'm replying to Ray because she had a great idea. Give me 1 second.
Oh God, Diane Day. That's great.
I'll be calling in sick.
Well, I've seen this film before, so when it was to be reviewed, because I love all of these women. I've seen all these women in different things, or just been following the things that they do. But I was just really excited to see Candice Bergen because I'm a big Murphy Brown fan.
Yes.
And big Murphy Brown fan. And so I was just like, oh, she's in something. Let me see. And her comedy was hitting, is what I can say. And she's honestly I can relate to all these women, but she was one of the characters that I related to the most in the sense of I put it in like my acting career. Just like I always feel like I'm too old for it. And then people are like, you've barely done anything in life. You're barely, and I'm just like, but I'm old in Hollywood terms. And so that's how her character was. She was just like, look at me. Like, I'm settled. I'm good. Like, it'll put me dating. It's too late. And it's like, this whole story was about how it's never too late to reinvent yourself, to change, to be something that you probably wanted to be. It's never too late. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. I felt like you could feel the friendship in these women. I felt like you could feel that they had known each other for a long time. But then you have, like you have in any type of friendship, male or female, I believe, you have two that are closer and then the other two, and then they're close, but we work well as a unit, and I thought that was a good. I feel like that was a good like film to watch, because I feel like you could have taken these women out and put 4 Black women, 4 Black men, 4 Asian women, 4 Korean, like 4 men, like you could put any. You could have switched it up gender wise. You could have put any, like it would have
4 best friends.
Words, 4 best friends. Period. It would have worked. You know what I mean? Like these words would have worked on like a universal level, because there's no like gender or race to like living and growing up and marriage and friendships and dating and being scared and all that type of stuff. So I enjoyed this. Also, Andy Garcia, man. Can I just have kids for Andy?
You can, of course you can. Mr. Marvelite, what did you think of the book club? Or book club, sorry, there's no the.
Okay, so I was not looking forward to this one at all. Was not interested. I literally looked, I kind of looked at the list. I'm like, okay, Parasite is something I've been meaning to watch. I know nothing about Palm Springs. Book club, a bunch of older white ladies that are talking about a book. And then I found out that book was 50 Shades of Grey. And then I'm like, okay, that's even worse now. Like there's no redeeming quality to this. Now, Candice Bergen, of course, just like Law said, I love Murphy Brown. I grew up on that as a child. I watched every episode. I love Candice Bergen. I also thought it was funny that kind of Mary Steenburgen and Craig Nelson, like they seem to be like the ongoing married couple through films, because they also did The Proposal. Yeah. And so it was kind of neat to see them again, because I liked their chemistry in that movie.
So did the director, apparently, or at least the casting director.
Right. I was disappointed when I saw Alicia Silverstone. I don't know why. I just don't like her. I don't.
She was at the Comic-Con that I was.
But yeah, I don't know.
But that's Cher.
This was like the only thing I ever liked her in, and yeah.
What about Crush?
I like
her
her.
But let me say this. I will say, the dynamic, the struggle that each of them they went through. You had Sharon that was all business and didn't even think about being happy, and was thinking that the man that she didn't want anything to do with is moving on, and it's upsetting her, but it shouldn't, because she didn't want to be in that relationship anymore. You have Diane, which of course, why do you give Diane Keaton the name Diane? Because she just didn't want to learn a different name.
It could have been the character's name.
But she's this woman who's only ever known her husband, and her daughters are being extremely overprotective, which was probably just a symptom of who she was. They were mothering the mother because the mother mothered.
I wanted to hit both of them so bad.
and then Jane Fonda's character Vivian is completely the complete opposite of Diane Keaton's character, where she's the player of the group. Like if the male roles were reversed, this would be the guy that just slept around with everybody and just like was doing his thing. But she's completely apprehensive of any type of emotional connection with people, and she prefers not to be connected. And then you have, of course, you go back to Carol, Mary Steenburgen's role, and she's trying to get back what she lost, not realizing just to listen to what's going on. And it was an interesting dynamic, and the book really, as much as the book kind of got the discussion of sex going, it really didn't have a whole lot to do with the movie at all, if you really think about it.
Not really,
because all of their issues were relationship issues, and the only thing that the book probably taught them was, whatever the main guy, I have no idea, can change. So why can't they change?
Christian Grey.
I don't know.
I said his name 3 times in the film.
I don't care.
I'm kidding.
I don't care.
I've never seen these films.
So I will say I was pleasantly surprised. This is not something that I normally would get into, but I will say that I was looking forward to seeing how it all ended and how it kind of tied up together, and I was rather pleased. So yeah, I guess that's it.
I got Misty. Sinjin, what did you think of book club?
Yes, Misty. Yes.
So I didn't know what to expect going into it, but I liked it a lot more than I thought. I I also am not an old woman, surprisingly, contrary to popular belief. But I still think that everyone can get stuff out of this. It really does have these universal themes about, life. And I thought that it was really great seeing a sex positive movie that is also has older women, because women get shamed for having sex all the time, and especially older women. And to have a sex positive movie with older women, I thought was really great. And I think it's interesting that they had, 50 Shades of Grey, which is a book that, gets mocked, gets made fun of a lot.
For good reason.
Yeah, but for good reason. But I think it being a catalyst for them is really interesting, because that it's showing that what they want is something that gets mocked a lot, and it gets looked down on, but that they are still able to accept themselves and put themselves in these situations. And I thought that was a really great, refreshing thing that I can't think of another movie that is really sex positive for older women, and I think that's great. And
I agree.
Cocoon.
The
I need
seen
to
that.
rewatch it. It's been.
I
a
need
long
to
time.
rewatch that too.
So Lala just leaves. She's like, I'm out of here. Cocoon.
But like, there's the one character that fucked around a lot, but they never like shamed her for sleeping around. It was more of, yeah, you're sleeping around, but try to have like an emotional connection.
Yeah.
No, they were
So
mad when she ditched
Yeah.
him for
Yeah.
being real,
Yeah.
rather
So it
than
wasn't
sleeping
a
with him.
shame around.
It's like they
sleeping
knew
around.
her well enough to know that, okay, like, we can do this, we sleep around, but they were like, you're running, right? At first you were just doing this, you were having fun, you were in control. Now you're running, and you don't run from things. So now that's the biggest issue.
Right.
So I like that too. No shaming.
And I think that all the performances were great. They really bounced off each other so well. I really felt like this was a group of friends. Like, these are 4 people that hang out all the time. They
were
each
40
other.
years as friends. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I thought the performances, the chemistry between everyone, between the 4 leads, and between all of their significant others, lovers, I thought all of that was great.
Yeah.
I feel like if you look at the screenwriters, it's a male and a female screenwriter that work together, and I feel like that's a great idea for a film like this, because the male parts are as important in this film as the female parts, and I think that they did a good job of layering that together. It was weird to see Ed Bigley Jr. in a movie, because I don't think I've seen him in a movie in a really long time, and he plays the smallest and almost inconsequential part. He's like a backdrop almost, but to see all these guys kind of take the second fiddle to these leading women is nice for once. I did get a sense, though, that this was almost like the female version of Last Vegas, where it was, showing that it's, because that's the principle of the movie Las Vegas is kind of the same thing. It's never too late to go to Vegas and party as old guys, and they kind of do that, and it's very positive about just being older and just still being able to do things. And this movie does drive that point home just as much, but it's definitely, like Sinjin's been saying, sex positive, which is something that we kind of avoid for anybody over 40. You're not allowed to have sex positivity over 40, let alone over 60 or with gray hair.
Yeah.
And so that is refreshing, and I think they handled it in such a way that even if you were squeamish, you might not get that like ew feeling that you might get if you were a little immature about it. I think they did a good job with that.
Honestly, I feel like this could have easily been like maybe a couple of things changed, but the way that like life is now, this could have easily be like a 30-year-old's film. Like, they could all these women could have been in their 30s, like late 20s, early 30s, going through this, because women get married at like 28 now and have kids and a family and things like that. Like, this could have easily been like I said, a few tweaks here and there. Like, you could put this in probably like every decade of a person's life, because you change and you grow and you go through these things. And some people might be a little more sexually active than you are, or feel like maybe their significant other isn't like loving them the way that they used to be, or paying attention to them like the way they used to. So like, I feel like any decade, any gender could be like, can relate and be in this film. But I don't know. I like seeing older women on screen. It's kind of like it's Netflix did some movie with Angela Bassett. It was called like Motherhood, I believe it was called, and it was like
Yes.
these three women, these three mothers who their sons met in like elementary or daycare or something like that and became fast friends. So these mothers became fast friends and they had to figure out their lives outside of their children
Mhm.
and like kind of like reclaim their lives. And these are older
And they're
women
all pep talking each other throughout it. Yeah, it's very
throughout
much
the
like,
whole thing.
yep,
It's very much kind of like this. It's just kind of like modernized, I guess you could say. I don't know.
yeah.
But it gives me that same feel. But again, it's few and far in between that you find films like this that's allowing women to just like be grown up and just be like, in their lives, like in their bodies, and for people to be
Mhm.
like, it's okay for that to happen, or not to be like, ugh, older people kissing on screen.
Or even
I
trying to
don't,
show off their boobies, like they were talking
our
about the
bodies.
ladies a lot.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I just thoroughly I enjoy films like this because it's always interesting to see what, one on the actor side, what actors would allow themselves to do at a certain age, just funny to see that like what they like. I like that. I'll do that because Jane Fonda splashing around in a fountain was a fun scene to watch. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, so I just like seeing films like this. So I thought it was
Well,
good.
what was nice about it was the fact that it gave these main characters a plot lines where they were following individually, but instead of there being drama amongst the group was supportive.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um, it's refreshing when you have a core group of individuals that aren't just all about drama. I think that's what, if we were to translate that to like what we're experiencing. Hello, welcome to the real study. Like you have individuals who are of differing opinions, different walks of life, but we have like a common interest that brings us together. And like I would say, like within like social media, like within the TikTok community, the people that I'm mutuals with, I find that they are sometimes more supportive than the ones that I'm around, like let's say my family or
Mhm.
whatever else. And so
Yeah.
that core group
Yeah.
encourages me to branch out and be better in who I am. And to see it on film with this core group of women is just it's refreshing, because it gives you that idea that not only is there hope for like the libido after a certain age group, but it's the idea of you can have friends that can make you stronger, that can support you, that can help you through any trials and encourage you. You just have to find them. And if you haven't found them, they're out there somewhere. Go get them.
So what
Mhm.
Mr. Marvelite is trying to say is, welcome to our book club,
Yeah,
Or film club.
film
yeah.
club. Yes. Uh, okay. There was a line that stuck out to me because I'm sappy, and these are the lines that always get me. But it was a line, I believe. Oh, I don't remember which character. You guys might be able to remind me. But the line was simply just, love is a word until someone gives it meaning. And I really loved that line because it's so true, because we kind of
Oh,
heap way too much crap. Was it?
Candice Bergen said it.
Okay.
It was at the engagement party.
That's right. Okay. And
Yeah,
that's what
it
I
is.
thought. And I like the way she talked about it was love is
I even
heaped
referenced the movie.
on there's so much expectation and consideration and all these things that we've basically decided love is, and it isn't anything until two people or a group of people decide that it is something. And this movie kind of embodied that in itself too, with kind of what Mr. Marlette was talking about. And I just love it. I love that kind of concept, that love is something we give meaning to, not that it inherently has meaning.
Yeah, that line stuck out to me too. I thought that was really great because in rom-coms or just romantic movies, there's always the speech where it's like love is, and then they start talking about it. But this really showed was saying that love isn't the same thing for everybody. Love is, it's, you can't really just quantify it. You can't really just say a definition of it. And with the four friends, each of them felt love in a different way. Love was different to all of them, but it was special to all of them. And uh, through all the different walks of life, the different ways they meet their partner, one had their spouse died, one their spouse has been with them forever, the other one has been sleeping around, but they all feel loved, you know what I mean? Even though it's different between all of them. I thought that was a really great line.
Well, it's the concept, like love is a choice, and just like what that statement goes, you have to choose to love somebody or choose what that love is. Most people in a lot of these films that always bother me is like this idea that people fall in love. It's like, oh, well, I'm so emotional and everything else. You probably just need Pepto. It's not that's not real love. That's indigestion.
Wow.
Like, but I mean, literally, because like if you can fall out of love, then it's really not love because love is a choice and you choose. That's like the whole premise of marrying. For better, for worse, for richer, for poor. I love you when you're ugly. I love you when you're not. It's that the whole concept of I'm going to choose to do this. And if you look at each of those characters, they all found what the meaning of love for them was, and they had to choose that. Jane Fonda's character, she realized, and so what did she do? She ran after the guy, and then he realized that he didn't want to change her, so he was waiting for her. I think it was Carol's character. She had to choose to listen to her husband. It wasn't about the emotional feelings or anything else. It was being there for him. It was a new step for him. You had Bergen's character who had to understand that it was okay for somebody that she was at one time in love with to love somebody
I was gonna
else,
mention
and
that.
despite her emotions about whether her son was marrying the right person or whatever else, she saw that they had chosen that for each other, and so she respected that. They all had that moment of realization, and it was a lot deeper than just I'm going to be more physical with
I
somebody.
love that for the judge, it was backseat sex. I don't know. That for me, that just felt like that uptight person needed to unwind in that sort of way. And I liked that it was Richard Dreyfuss. Sorry.
Of course.
I love Richard Dreyfuss. He is one of my all-time favorite actors. That said, do you guys have anything else you want to say about this film? I do have three quick little things, but I wanted to see if you guys had anything else. These are just little asides.
Snitty, when you brought up that line by Candice Bergen at the end when she's like doing the toast thingy, for some reason, what always comes to my mind is Kung Fu Panda 3. And when Poe's adopted father was said like to the bio father, he says to him like I realize that having you in Poe's life doesn't mean less for me; it means more for Poe. And so for me, I think she had to kind of like learn that like it's not these people being together, living this life, loving each other doesn't take anything away from me. Like I'm taking these things away from me, by being so like kind of obnoxious to the point of like irritating a little bit because like you're just finding faults in people or and you're just like down on yourself. So for me, like I love Candice Bergen's character's like realization to be like, let me be a bigger person than I have been. Right. And especially with her being a judge, you would think that like, but she's human. So it's just like for her to kind of like step outside of herself to be like, congratulations to you both and happy life to you both opens herself up to way more than I think that like if this was a sequel, if it was a sequel to this, like I think she would be the Jane Fonda character. Now, you know what I mean? I think she would turn
She
into
was
that
showing
person.
that.
You know what I mean? As much as she talked to, Jane's character about that, it's like you kind of want some of that. Like it's always that one person that's like, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. You slightly kind of want to do it because it's like you've been so like wrapped up your whole life that you've never given yourself the freedom or like carte blanche to just be.
Right.
And so to me, these women allowed each other to be, and you don't find a lot of female-centric films that allow their friends to be. Nobody judged.
There's
but they
usually
did.
cynicism and like
Exactly.
clapback and judgment
Exactly.
and right.
And it's just like we might have yelled a little bit, but after that, it's like, shut up. I love you. You know that I'm here to help you. And it's like, you know what, you're right. All right, come on, let's put these clothes on and go get this dude. You know what I mean? Like
The slap was fantastic. I'm sorry I had to do it. Like yeah.
She's like, I get it. I know. Like, all right. And like, and it's like snap me back. And so like, to me, to watch like 4 women kind of be together without there really being like cattiness is refreshing.
Yeah.
Because that's not how we all are. And if you've known somebody, I love that Ray said catty, right? When I say catty, that's beautiful. I have to meet Ray because me and her say some of the same things all the time. It just really freaks me out. And I'm just like, I have to meet this person in real life. Love her. But for me, it was just great to see a film of 4 women together because you would think that if we've known each other for this many decades, the cattiness is gone,
or it should be.
or at least it should be, right? Like the cattiness is gone, and now we can like
Can
be
we
there
also?
for each other. Because
Can
I
we
honestly feel like these four loved each other despite the men in their life. Like they were each other's loves, and everybody else just a consolation to the love
I like that.
they had.
What were you gonna say, Mr.
Can we
Marvel?
can we also say that cattiness is not natural? It's like it's through upbringing. Like
And
I
pushed.
know a lot of
Yeah.
people that are not like I know a lot of women that are not catty.
Mhm.
Like it's this one right now. It's this big generational thing where it's like this
Yeah.
is like it's
generation.
what do you say? It's like high school all over again. But like I know a lot of amazing women that are in my life, Lala, and people that that are wonderful individuals. That it's not about trying to get one up on somebody else. Now, are there a lot of women that are catty? Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of men that are jerks, but like let's face it, like
There are plenty of men
you
that
know,
are catty, but
for them not to be written that way, to give a better perspective, like that's the one thing I like about this movie, that it's going against sometimes the stereotype, and it's just giving something that's real that you can kind of like hope for, like, or to idolize.
I like that.
that
That
you
you
want that
can
for
push
yourself.
your group
Yeah.
to, or think about
Yeah,
becoming,
yeah.
or letting go of those.
Like
crap
you can look at
things.
it and say, like, I want to be like that. Like I want to have that group. No, I don't want to be.
I
I don't wanna
honestly
be
feel
Regan
like
50 Shades of Grey, but-
cattiness is a trope that
Yeah.
films use when they're usually written by men
Mm.
to add something interesting. Let's make it interesting by
Well, let's add to the drama. You got to up the drama level, right? Let's add
You know what I mean?
cattiness. Women fighting.
And it's like, but also I think it's like the male thing, and I'm sorry, dude, to know you're here, but I feel like it's the male thing of like, I want to see two women butt naked fighting, but like I can't make them do that, so I'll just make them snipe at each other because that's
Then you can imagine it.
then you can imagine it, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, we all
But
know
it's
that.
there.
Now, listen, I'm Mr. Marvelite, so I have to do some like this. This even brings up, this is where I was thinking of the point of where we had a male writer for like Black Widow, and there were literally like misogynistic remarks that were made that they had to go back and change to make the script not sound so bad. And if it wasn't for the actress and the director figuring it out, it would have sounded a whole lot different, because it's coming from a guy who's got something between his legs that doesn't have anything between his ears.
Because what happens is, and I'll be done with this because I can talk about this all day. For me, what happens is when men write for women, they write what they think. Right? They don't write what they know. They write what they think women feel or think, or however it is. Like they, instead of just going to a woman and being like, I have this scenario. What would you do in this scenario?
Or did I write this properly, and
Or
can
did
you
I
help me
write
adjust it?
Whatever it is,
Right.
you know what I mean? Because like I feel like some things men can write because some things are universal between men and women. Like some things are just universal. But when it comes to like how would two sisters deal with each other, right? If you didn't grow up with sisters, and even then if you did, maybe go to your sisters and be like, hey, I wrote this scene, what do you think? Or be like, I want a scene like this, can you help me construct it? You know what I mean? Like if there were more like hands in the air and be like, yeah, that's not right, or be like, or more like willingness to collaborate with somebody of the opposite gender. Because I think that with women, I don't think women, it's like a woman can't raise a man. I can't write for a man either, because I don't know what y'all thinking. I can write from my perspective of what men have.
You can write our stereotypes.
I can write your stereotypes, exactly,
or observations that you have in your own
observations.
life, like you're
right. But it only goes to a certain, like it only goes so far. Right, I could write about my brothers to a certain point, but I don't know them deep down on the inside, the things that they hide, the things that they keep to themselves. And it's the same thing with women. So I would have to go ask for some help. And I feel like men writers do that. They just like, I got it.
You're supposed to do research, like you actually try to understand what you're going
and I
for.
think by trying to do that over a period of time, you could get better at an internal female dialogue.
No,
you can get
you can,
better at representing that, and then knowing when you're going too heavy-footed on the male.
Everybody drink up.
I ran out of drink, or I would. Let me give you my 3 things, and then we're going to rate this film because we have another one that I really want to talk about. I was excited to talk about all 3 of these films tonight, which I didn't expect. So real quick, there were some weird, like kind of throwbacky type things in this film. One of them was that something that Frenchie mentioned, which is that Don Johnson's in this film, and they're talking about 50 Shades of Grey, and lo and behold, his daughter is the lead in 50 Shades of Grey, the film, which is really odd. That's that. The next one is Alicia Silverstone and Wallace Shawn, who plays Dr. Derek.
We're in Clueless together.
We're both in Clueless together, although they didn't. Thank you so much, Frenchie, for the resubscription. We really appreciate that.
Thanks, Frenchie.
Thank you.
Then the last one, which I thought was interesting, was when Mary Steenburgen gives Craig T. Nelson the Viagra without him knowing, and they're driving in the car, and she starts to mess around with his situation. I started getting heavy-duty Parenthood vibes when she did that to Steve Martin. And I'm like, is this like a throwback to Parenthood? Like, I'm really thrown off by this.
I feel like
so
it was.
I do
think
too.
It was.
Yeah. So there were a lot of like fun little elements
Yeah.
just kind of thrown in there by just who was in the film and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
Also, can I just say real quick before we finish? Because we touched on this a little bit, but not a lot. But I just want to say, Diane Keaton's daughters, my lord, they. When I first watched this film, I was like, oh, it's Alicia Silverstone. I don't think I've seen her since like Batman and Robin, and that wasn't a good little send off. But I was like, whoa! But throughout the film, they triggered me, and I'm not even a parent, but they triggered me, and I was just like, well, they did their job very well. But I was just like, man, they need to let their mom be, just let her be, right? And then it was like to patronize her and like belittle her and make her. It's like, but you're old and you're in this house.
you're so
and
lucky
then
you
like,
didn't wreck.
You didn't fall and break something. And then to force her to leave her house, her friends, her life, to live in your basement. Like what are we? I was like,
they ditched her at granny daycare too. Like, did you catch that? Like, that was messed up.
I'm like, how old do you think your mother? How old do you think your mother is? And then it made me think of like how kids see their parents or see their life, right? Because you get to the guts of it and you realize that her character loved your father, but I wasn't like really in love with him.
He was a good father to you and a fine partner.
He was a fine partner, but like I didn't feel anything. This wasn't the life that I kind of like. But we took care of you guys, and I love you. You're my gift. But like this dude opened up some stuff because it's Andy Garcia. But I'm just saying, like,
it's because he grabbed her butt in the very first time they met. That's what it boils down to. Like,
listen, when it's wanted, it's amazing. When it's not, it's a different story. And then,
I love their interactions. I love the airplane thing. The whole like they keep joking about friends dying on an airplane. I love that as much as it's dark.
Honestly, their chemistry is awesome.
It really was. And again, I'm not a Diane Keaton fan, but I will give her props in this film.
Yes.
Okay, I went first. I'm going to go first again. I'm going to give this movie a solid 7. I would watch this movie again. And I do think it's worth another watch. Again, I got a little misty at the end. I am a sap. I do love anything emotional. And this hits all those marks. Plus, it made me realize that I'm not as old as I think I am, which is good. Mr. St. John Chapman.
I'll give it a 7 as well. I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm definitely going to rewatch this one. I'm definitely going to watch it with my fiance this time because I watched it by myself, and I'm like, my fiance needs to see this with me. Yes. We're watching this together.
Nice. Do a review about
it. Do a TikTok review about it. Mr. Marvelite.
Well, I feel like all of us are having like non-original thoughts here because I was going with the 7, and then I'm like, well, at least I'm going to say that I need to watch this with my wife, and then
I beat you to it.
This guy over here, right? It's over here.
He's on here. He's over there. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on that guy over there. No, but like really, like when I watch movies, when we watch things, there have been a couple films that I've just been like, this definitely needs to be watched again. Like I think the Sam Rockwell movie we watched with the water park. I forget with the water park.
Oh no, the way back.
Yeah, the way back. Like that was like a highly recommended. Like you guys need to watch this film. And then this one. Now I probably will not watch this again. I will probably encourage them to watch it again because there's only so much of Diane Keaton I can really, want to watch. But it's definitely a good film, solid film, great message.
Great pick from Ray Ray.
Yeah,
Mhm,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Ray,
I agree.
way to go. So yeah, definitely.
Lala, what is your take on book club?
I'm sorry. The way he said, "Way to go."
Way to
That was
go.
It's
Was
like he
very
forgot how
matter of
to
fact.
say it. He realized it. Way to go. That was so good. Okay, I almost cried on that. That was good. That was good stuff. I want to be opposite of everybody because I don't have a significant other. Okay, and I'm not giving it a 7. I'm giving it an 8.
She broke
Because
the
for me,
mold.
I did. Sorry, that's the way God made me. Um, no, just like this, like I said, I love like female camaraderie type films. I love like that. This is for an older generation, but it's still like across the board relatable. You don't have to be their age to get it.
Mhm.
You know, for me, every woman in this film is a master at what they do. So it was great to just see all that come together within the film. The writing was great, settings were great. I really do feel like they give Diane Keaton carte blanche because she's Diane Keaton, but one day I would love to see her be something else. I can't admit to that. I love me some Diane Keaton, but they always have her in pantsuits and stuff, and that's literally Diane Keaton. Like they just, and in this time they didn't even change her name. So yeah, all in all, I give this an 8. I think it was great, and I would watch it again because I've already seen it. But again, this is one of those films that like I know it pretty decently, so like gotta let it gotta let it pass through the old noggin for a while. Like between this time and the last time I watched it was a big gap, so it had to be another big gap for me to like partake in it again. But again, Ray, thank you for the when I saw that this was on the list, I was like super excited because I wanted all my dudes to watch it. So that was just great. That's what.
Ray has another one we'll be doing soon enough, and that's Corinna, which is the other picture.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is, of course, Ray Liotta and
Whoopi
Whoopi Goldberg. Thank you. I was like, why did
I grew up on
Whoopi
that.
Goldberg's
I
name
grew up on
not
that movie.
stay in my head? So now we're going to move on to the final film of the evening. We did do 3 comedies, which was not what I expected until I watched all 3 and went, oh, these are all 3 comedies, so it's an all-comedy night. This was a La La pick, which I am always like, where is this going to go when La La picks it? It can go a variety of ways. And so when I saw Andy Samberg, I was like, okay, this could be interesting. Christy Milioti is brilliant in everything she does. J.K. Simmons, I don't even need to say anything else.
Goat.
Right, yeah, just J.K. Simmons. I mean, that's it. Don't need to say much else.
How do you spell goat? J.K. Simmons?
Yes, it is spelled with a J.K. and an S. And then Peter Gallagher and a handful of other people just kind of showing up here. Superman was in the movie. That's the modern Lois and Clark Superman, of course.
Tyler.
Right. But let's start with Mr. Marvelite. What did you think of Palm Springs?
Yeah, I think he liked it.
I don't like Andy Samberg.
Interesting.
I just have never watched a film that I've liked him in. And I immediately went into this thing like, okay, we're gonna do the physics version of Groundhog Day. And so I was a little bit out of it. I did not really relate to this at first. Honestly, this is really sad. It wasn't until J.K. Simmons started chasing him down with, I think it was a bow and arrow,
Sure was.
but I was like, okay, I can handle this now. I did like a lot of the concepts. I liked how you had him who was just like, he's aimlessly wandering. He doesn't remember how long he's been there. Everything else, this girl gets involved, and she kind of helps break him out of his shell. I like how when she finally got fed up with things, she took all of the time that she had to figure it out. And I like that kind of stuff, like the bettering yourself. If you're stuck in the loop, better yourself, make yourself better. I don't know. I think I'm burnt out by time loop movies, a bit, just a little bit, because when I watch them, I feel like it's deja vu all over again.
Oh,
And so it was a good film. I probably will never watch this again. So I guess that's my introduction to it. So
Okay, I've got to follow up with that.
and I have a problem.
because-
I have a problem with it that it was. I sat through the credits for the specific purpose of making sure I wasn't going to end angry on this thing, and I at least was satisfied with the end credit.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I felt the same way. I was like worried.
Yes.
For myself, like I said before, when Lala mentions a movie, I'm split on whether it's going to be brilliant or I'm not sure what this movie is. It's never bad. It's just will it be a hit or will it be like, that's just a thinker, right? And that's just kind of how I've noticed your picks go. And that's not a judgment. It's just what I've seen.
I feel judged. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But when I saw Andy Samberg was in this movie and the three members that I mentioned, I got a little excited. And then when the credits roll and it says Lonely Island Productions, I got very excited because I love Lonely Island. I've loved them since SNL, since their first album, across the board. Hot Rod is by far and away one of my all-time favorite comedies. So I was excited. And this movie, from my perspective, did not disappoint one iota. I laughed at all the darkest jokes. I love the chemistry between the two main actors. I think the time loop works for this film because although it has Groundhog Day elements, this movie is not Groundhog Day. And you're taking two actors that have the ability to be as ridiculous as they need to, and it works for them. The scene where they go into the pool house and they're dancing together and they're like making fun of all the patrons, dancing in unison in the denim jackets is one of my favorite moments in the film because they're both like dancing together and just getting wild, and you can see that they've been together for a while doing this and running through this loop. I watched it again today with my wife, and she watched the first half until she fell asleep. But watching her reaction every time something happened, like when Roy shows up, as Mr. Marvelite said for the first time, and shoots Andy Samberg in the back with an arrow, she starts ruckus laughing. We almost woke up the babies. We love this movie. Lala, what did you think?
That's how you know it's good if you almost wake up the babies. That's all I'm saying. I was just on Hulu one day, and this film was recommended to me because I watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine like a billion times. And so they were like, you might like this film that he was in. And I was like, I was like, okay, I like Andy Samberg. I love Kristen Milioti from the How I Met Your Mother. So I was just like, let's just pop this bad boy in and see what's popping. And I was pleasantly surprised that I actually enjoyed this film. Like again, like the whole time travel thing, or like the looping of a day is a very tropey thing. A lot of people do it. A lot of movies have done it. I felt like this one did it in a kind of like unique and funny way. Like nobody sees J.K. Simmons coming with a bow and arrow. You know what I mean? Like nobody sees that coming. So when it happens, you're like, what is this movie? Like what is happening? And then, when you get to the point where you see, I think his name is Roy, you see him with his family, and he shows up and he's like, you freaking out my wife, man. Like, why are you here? Like why are we why are we doing this? And then you find like real stakes in the film where it's like, J.K. Simmons' character is like, I never get to see my kids grow up. I don't get to walk my daughter down the aisle. Like, I gotta live this day over and over again. Like, there's no way to get out of this. Like, it starts to have like, because at first you're like, Andy Samberg is just, doing the dances people do and taking drinks and giving it back like very smoothly. And you're like, this is silly fun. But then you realize like he's slowly losing his mind in a way, because it's like, not only am I living this day over and over again, but I'm also being hunted by a guy. Right. And then on top of that too, I end up finding somebody that I vibe with and I love. Oops, I messed that up. So now I'm back to being alone, because you can be alone if you're alone, but the moment somebody shows up, you don't want to be alone anymore. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's, it just started to have like real stakes, and I just thought it was another step in the Andy Samberg, I want to be a serious actor journey that he's on, and to have somebody that's as masterful as Kristen next to him, I think elevated him a little bit more than it would if he was with somebody that wasn't as inept as her when it comes to like comedy and drama. And like Mr. Marvelite said, we do agree on a lot of things. I love that she was just like, all right, I'm getting out of here. I'm done. And because her real stakes started to show, like she started to have feelings for this person and then realize like, I did my sister dirty. Because that's a twist you don't see coming, because we do see her wake up in this room, but you automatically assume it's always her room because she looks at a door a shower happens and you might think it's somebody else, but you never assume that it's the fiance.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that kind of comes to light, when we realize it, she realizes that like, I need to make a change. Something has to change. I have to get out this day so that I can make this better. And like I said, the real stakes is what really, like the two actors brought me into, but the real stakes is what kept me there. Like the comedy and the real stakes is what kept me there. And I was like, I was pleasantly surprised, and I was happy for the first time of me. I have a tendency not to watch things new for the fear of not liking them, especially when it has actors in there that I like. So me actually sitting down to watch this film, I was like, that was pretty good. So yeah.
St. John.
So I was really excited to watch this movie because one, I love Andy Samberg. It might be because people say I look like him, but I just really like Andy Samberg. It's just because I have a big nose. That's the only reason. But I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I love his style of comedy. So I was super, super excited to watch this. But then I found out that it was a time loop movie, and I was like, oh, it's just going to be Groundhog Day. But it wasn't that. And I was so pleasantly surprised that it wasn't that. And one of the issues with a lot of comedies sometimes is they get to the end of the second act and they're like, all right, it's time to randomly get super serious. And then the tone just like is all messed up and you're like sad. But then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, it's a comedy. So we're going to end with some funniness. And then it always makes me feel weird at the end. You
Like
know
a
what I mean?
reverse climax, almost like it has
Yeah.
to dip in the middle and come back up.
And this movie, I think, did a really good job moving into that serious moment of the film and didn't make it tonally confusing, in my opinion. Like,
Well,
it was kind of like a descent into it, and then like the scene where they're like pulled over by the cop and she runs in front of the truck, and like that I really felt that, and I really liked the scene with J.K. Simmons where we see what his everyday looks like. I thought that hit me pretty hard, like how he talked about his kids and stuff like that. But I think it transitioned into that a lot better than other comedies do. So I didn't think it was tonally confusing. It felt like it was earned.
the levity remained. So even though it was a serious moment and you knew Sandberg may be alone for the rest of his life, or I'm sorry, Niles,
Yeah,
the kid was still watering shit with a canister.
exactly.
So like,
exactly.
how are you going to not giggle? How are you going to not giggle the way he killed him in the freaking garbage can?
In the
like,
garbage can.
like it's all just subtly funny, and I think the right amount of funny. And I agree with the concept that Sandberg is trying to transition out of this. He realized what has happened to other comedy actors who do the same shtick too long. He's got to get away from it. Adam Sandler, even in any of
Would you like a
Will
fish
Ferrell.
pie?
I think that since we don't
Yeah.
see Sandberg doing more than just the jokes themselves, he's not doing the physical comedy nearly as much. I think that's a good thing. I think that that's going to benefit him. And I think he's a good actor. I think he actually has the chops to do something very serious in the future. Something that will blow our minds, like award level.
He's going to hit an 8-4 film and we're going to be like, oh,
yes, he will. And I can't wait for it.
Great.
So what were your, you said you had a problem with the film, Mr. Marvelette. I'm curious what that was.
So we have this moment with J.K. Simmons and Andy Samberg's character where he wants him to just kill him real quick. He just wants to be submitted to being tortured or whatever this guy wants to do. He goes and he actually finds out about his life. He realizes that, he's never going to see his daughter, walk daughter down the aisle. Or his son is only going to ever be, watering poop. And like, all of the stuff where he just can't move on. And he realizes what he did to this man. And then when it comes to him making the realization that he wants to be with her no matter what, and they're about to go in the cave, never once does he think about J.K. Simmons' character, Roy. Like, that bothered me more than anything else. The girl immediately thinks about him and makes sure that there's a way. But he never, like, I feel like the guy who was going through this whole entire endeavor in this film, just not caring about anything, having fun with all of it, not getting attached to people, to finally find out that he falls in love with this person and realizing that there's more than just like skimming through. doesn't care about the one other person that he brought into this world or into this loop that obviously doesn't want to be in it. And that bothered the crap out of me.
But wouldn't you?
Like-
I mean, if that guy tried to kill me or successfully killed me as many times as Roy killed Niles, I'm pretty sure he could just fuck off till the end of time. I don't think I would care. And there's our one F-bomb, by the way. We're PG-13, Sinjin, if you didn't know.
That conversation between the two of them, like, it would change everything. Like, the guy wants to kill, but even if he did that, like, the guy wants to kill him, he still has a possible way out to help this man. It's his doing. He brought this guy into this loop, and this guy is obviously upset. And then he realizes what he's stuck in, and does not care to bring him out. That still bothers me. I don't care what he's done to me. Set me on fire, run over me, shot me with an arrow. I still brought him into that loop.
You realize, I mean, we went through the montage of the way he tortured him. He waterboarded his ass. He tortured him to death
and he was
more
joking,
than once.
And he's cracking jokes the whole time he's being tortured by this guy.
I know, and I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying that
I don't care.
I get what you're saying. I do. I can understand not caring.
Not even not even a passing thing. But of course she did. She understood that he needed to have a way out. Like she gave him the key to know how to get out of this thing. But it's like, if you have any development with Andy Samberg's character, Niles, he should have at least tried to tighten up that loose end. Not necessarily say, hey, listen, let's go get him, but say, hey, let's tell him. And then she could be like, oh, I already told him. And it's all good.
So now that you and I have definitely given our true opinions on this, I would like to see the other half of the panel tell us, would you tell Roy, or do you care that Roy knew?
I kind of agree with Mr. Marvelite on this one, because I feel like, yes, of course, Roy tortured him and killed him multiple times, but I also feel like from the way Niles reacted, he kind of had they have a mutual understanding, and I think Niles has always felt this guilt about having brought him there, and kind of has an understanding of why he's hunting him down. Not necessarily saying that that's a good thing, but he understands the why, and kind of has this understanding, and that's why he feels so like he kind of freaks out when she gets caught up in it. He's like, no, don't come down here, because he knows the negative effects, because he's lived there at that day for so long. And then after that scene where they connect and he learns about his life, I kind of agree with Mr. Margolite on this.
Okay. How about you, Law?
Shocker, I don't agree. Only because I know he's gonna go away. I have a feeling he's gonna go.
We knew it would happen.
I felt it in my spirit that he was gonna go away.
You're wrong.
Look at that. It's a really booming voice.
Yes. I don't agree, because so we go back to when she leaves, right? She leaves and he's depressed because he realized that he loves this person, and now I'm stuck in this day. I'm stuck in this loop without her. When he goes to Roy's house and they have this conversation, he goes back and finally when him and Sarah gets together, she's like, I think I found a way out. He does not believe her because he's tried everything possible to get out of this loop. He does not believe her.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, listen, I love you. Let's just stay in this loop together. We can have fun. We can do whatever we want. We can just be. And she's like, nah, I can't do this. I have to get out. He was going to stay because he was still at the wedding and she was at the cave. And then it dawned on him like, yo, if I'm going to die, I might as well die with the person that I love. He never believed. I don't think he believed it worked. So
Until it did.
So I don't think he believed it worked. So I don't think he would have the foresight to be like, let me tell Roy about this thing that I don't think is going to work, but maybe it did. And so that's where my brain is going with that, because he thought that they were just going to die. He was just like, because I've done everything. So like, I understand where Mr. Marvelite is coming from. I just don't agree, because at this moment, he's so focused on this person, on this love that he's never had in his entire life, that he's focused on that and possibly dying with her. You know, I don't think, because, and then it's like throughout the whole film, you see that he ain't the smartest and she's the thinker. So it would make more sense for her to cover her bases in that sense than it would for him, because he doesn't think like that. But that's my thought.
So to their point, to St. John and Mr. Marlight's point about Niles' view on the whole thing, when she clips Roy with the police vehicle, she says clips. We know it's far more than that. I mean, it obviously guts him or hurts him so badly he dies. And she even Niles is like, "Why did you do that? We have to stay good. We can't live life as if we're just terrible people, because that's the only thing keeping us sane." So to your point, Mr. Marvelite, he, and I agree with, I think Lala really put hit the hammer or the nail on that. You know what I'm trying to say. She nailed it. Because if he didn't think it was possible, he wouldn't ever consider Roy, because he didn't believe it. He literally thought he was going to go die with her. And I do think that was the case. I don't think he was intentionally leaving her, because what I just mentioned and a few other things in the film do show that he would have cared about Roy had he believed they could have made it out. Anyway.
I'd like the record to show that I retract my previous statements.
So noted.
I have a tendency to change minds around.
You argued your point way better than I could.
The actress that plays Niles' girlfriend, as annoying as the character was, I think she did such a bang-up job of nailing down that particular character. She played her part
every single time.
She really did, and she did such a good job.
And the guy who, like the best man or whatever, who's always like, "Who is this guy? Get him out of here. I'm feeling like my safety's..."
The earthquake. Like, I should have never left Michigan. Right?
That guy was hilarious. Yeah. Me too, yeah. So.
There's some great cast. You know, that's what makes, I think, a good comedy, is having those extra characters around the edges. You know, the bartender, the patron that you were talking about, who you guys think might be in the loop. June
Squibb's character, may she rest in peace.
Oh no, okay, that's what you meant. June Squibb's character, Nana. Nana is who you guys think is. I always thought you guys were talking about Darla, was somebody who was in the loop, but you know, no. But I think everybody did a good job. Even the bartender guy. I've seen him in the few movies.
She's still alive. My bad, June. I killed her. My bad.
We ended you prematurely. That's not.
She's 92 out here. Keep on squibbing, Squibb. Sorry,
Keep making movies. We love it. We want to see more. I understand not liking particular actors, Mr. Marvelite. So I understand if Andy Samberg isn't your cup of tea. But do you think this is maybe one of his better roles, or is this kind of for? Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've seen things that I've seen with it. I don't watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but I've seen it. And I've seen clips, and I've liked stuff that he's done with it, but he's just not. There's I don't know. There's a lot of modern comedies that I'm not really big on the actors now.
I respect that.
I don't know. I also feel like comedies sometimes go a route now that I just don't appreciate. Like it's really hard for me to like. I liked the first Grown Ups, but I didn't like the second one as much. And it's like I feel like sometimes the jokes are too forced in some cases. So
the second one wasn't needed, honestly. It should have been one and done with Grown Ups. That should.
I'm gonna say they shouldn't have made either, but that's just
that's hilarious.
That's just because of how I feel about most Adam Sandler movies. So
honestly, I will say this though, I and this is no offense to Kevin James and nothing like that, but we both know, everybody in this little panel knows that his character was made for Chris Farley. And seeing this Chris Farley isn't alive anymore, Kevin James did the best he could.
The problem is, from what I understand, Kevin James is a jerk in real life.
Really?
So it's hard for me to like roles that he's in.
But he's fat. How can he be a jerk? No, I'm just playing. As a fat person.
I've also heard Dan Aykroyd as a jerk in real life.
I heard that too, and that really hurt my soul.
He actually comes to Woodbridge, Virginia a lot, I guess because he has relatives, and he goes to a Chinese restaurant. And I had a friend who was in the Chinese restaurant. He just was horrible to the staff there, like just extremely entitled and rude.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard when he goes places like where there's like customer service type things. I've heard other stories about him where he's just been like a dick to like service people or things like that, and that really hurts my feelings. I'm like, you are
don't ever meet your heroes in a lot of cases.
You know what I mean? Like that really hurts me because
be prepared that your heroes are people.
No facts, and they can be dicks too. They just really good actors. Because I heard Jared Leto is a bit of a dick. So
You heard that?
I've actually
I've
heard the
heard that.
opposite. I've heard he's actually pretty pretty chill in real life if he's not method acting.
He doesn't go over the top. Oh, you mean outside of his method? You aren't being
Yeah.
facetious. Okay.
No, like he's chill. Like he's excited about people liking things. Like he was really wanting people to like Morbius, and
it wasn't that bad. I still gotta do my review on that though. But yeah.
So we do have a resident anti-Jared Leto character person on the panel right now.
I love
St.
it
John
so
does
much.
have an anti. I would say if there's an opposite of a Stan account, St. John's is a Jared Leto anti-Stan account.
I'm not the biggest fan of that guy, so to speak.
Have you made videos about that?
Many.
Oh, I gotta go stalk your page.
You should. They're great. They're great. And you've even got like a shtick going on now with it, right?
Oh, I can't wait. Jen, yeah.
Yeah, I got this whole thing where we're gonna recast every Jared Leto role with Florence Pugh. It's a whole thing.
Well,
That's hilarious.
what's really funny is like if you want to know if a comic book movie is going to be good, just see if Jared Leto's in it, because you'll know it's the opposite of.
And then replace him with Florence Pugh, and it will be a better comic book movie. That's kind of St. John's kind of.
You could replace anybody with Florence Pugh, and it would be better.
That's the point. That's the point. So really, it's a Florence Pugh Stan account
Yeah, that's what it's on.
with a side of Jared Leto slander.
I'm slightly Wanda standing at the moment, so that's okay.
Ooh.
Nothing wrong with that.
I think you're gonna like the videos that I have coming out, Mr. Marvel. I just want that up there.
So we are at the end of the show. We've got about 5 minutes left. So I'd like to get a rating from you guys on this film, and then we're going to do our ever-present raid. We are on Twitch, so we're going to take advantage of Twitch things and raid another channel. And it will be the Raven Armed. He's kind of our guy that we always raid because he's got a nice, good following, and it helps us. It helps him, so it's good. So. Let's start with who haven't I gone first with? Sinjin has not gone first. Your rating of Palm Springs.
I'm bouncing between 7 and 8. I'm gonna go 8. I'll go 8. I'll go 8. Yeah. No one influenced.
No peer pressure here.
Yeah,
No.
of course not.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead. So just 8.
Just
Just
8.
8.
We're moving on. Okay. Mr. Marvelite.
And I say this, though it didn't hit well for me. I still had parts that I really enjoyed about certain characters. I liked some parts of it. It's not rewatchable for me, but
Respect.
it is worth watching. If you have not seen this movie, please go watch it. And it's the newer of the 3 movies that we did tonight. I would give it a 6. It's not bad. It's just worth a watch. And if you like that kind of thing, go for it again. For me, I'll go back and watch Groundhog Day.
So the 6 usually for our panel means that if somebody put it on, you would watch it. You just wouldn't argue to turn it off.
No, I would probably be scrolling through TikTok.
But you'd hear and go, I like that part. That's
there
funny.
are times. Okay, so like for a 5 for me is if I see it, I will walk the other way. A 6 is if I'm in the room, I'll probably be scrolling through TikTok. I might pay attention to parts. 7 is I'm going to go back and watch this again at some point. So,
and then of course beyond that, how much you're paying attention goes up by the number.
yes.
Lala, what is your rating of Palm Springs?
Despite the low rating that Mr. Marvelite gave it. No, I was like,
It's higher than half.
no, that's very true though. But still, I was disappointed. I was looking for a 7 from you, sir. No, I was like,
It's a D if we're using grades, but that's it.
jeez, no, I kid because I love when we don't agree on things because I love to hear his perspective on stuff. Even if it's wrong, but no, I just had to do that. I'm sorry. For Palm Springs, I will go Palm Springs.
Of course. Of course. Yeah, it's something in my eye, and I look down and he's gone. I'm like,
I love Palm Springs. I'll give Palm Springs an 8. I'll give it a solid 8. I probably will watch it again. I feel like it's a movie that since I've seen it before a couple times now, I can just like put it on and enjoy it and not have to like really like deeply analyze it. I can just kind of like let it be, let the jokes hit me. I'm a big Andy Samberg, Kristen Milioti, J.K. Simmons. Listen, bald men are amazing men, and I'm talking about Snitty here. Just saying. Bald men are amazing, man.
Ooh.
And you know, I love me some J.K. Simmons, and I love me some Snidbits. So you can't go wrong there. And I love this film. I just thought it was a great ride. I love being able to just watch a film sometimes and just enjoy it flat out, and not have to be like, well, this was a thinker. And not to say I don't mind thinker films, but you know, sometimes you know you kind of want to just rest and watch something that'll make you like be surprised and giggle and to me that's what this film did for me. So, and it was like a love thing too, and I like that too because I'm a girl. No, I'm playing. I just like it. Yeah.
I'm with you. For myself, this is going to be a 10 because I will be watching this movie a lot of times. I've already seen it twice,
Smitty.
and I'm going to watch it a lot. It has when a comedy hits for me, it hits hard, and I love it. This one made me laugh all the way through. A little misty at the end, and I love the almost Inception like ending where you're like, they're in the pool together. They did this before.
Mm-hmm.
Where's this headed? And then, of course, seeing Roy one last time. And I loved seeing Roy see Niles not in the loop. I thought that was brilliant. He's like really interesting, almost confirming it for him. But also, he's like, I'm going to have a night where I get to know you on my terms. And I love that. Yeah.
Now, what would have happened if he would have brought him back into the loop?
Oh, God.
Say it again.
What if Roy would have brought Niles back into the loop?
Honestly, I feel like it would have been a paradox, and it would have exploded again. Like it would have been a thing.
Listen, anytime that we touch on these the physics and everything else, like it's all paradoxical. It doesn't even follow its own rules. So
I think the goat would have come back. That's just me.
Very tiny stuff.
That said, this has been episode 28 of season 1 of The Real Study. I am Mr. Snidbits, and with me, as always, Black Girl Marvel and Mr. Marvelite. And thank you to our special guest, St. John Chapman.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Great chat. And we are, as always, going to raid. So this is the technical end of the show. And now we're going to do kind of a...
Come back whenever you want, St. John, by the way.
Yeah, you are easy to talk to and have great insight.
If you got an idea for a movie, that could be an easy way for you to just be like, I want to come back because I want to review this movie.
Yeah.
All right.
I wasn't so sure because you look like Andy Samberg, but otherwise you're great.
I'm just going to recommend Andy Samberg movies from now on.
Please do.
I like it.
I love it. Listen, I'll do the Diane Keaton for Snitty, and you do the Andy Samberg for
Mr. Marvelite.
Sounds like a plan.
Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, with that said, you guys have a great evening.
And we're